Welcome to Rauta and the very last opinion video of year 2023. It's almost ready for a new year and new thoughts, new year or what have you. Something that has lately, not say bothered, but come into my mind is something that I recently read a text about, and it was kind of a verifying what I had already going in my mind, but this kind of sparked me to the idea to do this particular video because lately, and this is not any particular era or year or whatever, I think this idea that music journalism is nothing more than advertising these days has become more of a thing in past few years. Maybe it has been always like that, but it seems like even more so recently. I think the metal journalism, magazines going smaller, everything is becoming some kind of advertising issue, whatever. Things have been more like kind of boring, to be honest. And I think a lot of criticism is vanishing in a way. It's like distracting from the whole thing. Now, this particular topic or columnist writing what I was reading was taking place in a Finnish magazine called Inferno. Why I'm mentioning this name is I want to give the credit where the credit is due, and there was this text about like how music journalism is basically nothing more than just, doing for the company's work. And this is very easy to sum up in two ways. First of all, there are a lot of interviews which are all about the latest events. So you made this new album, how fantastic. I think it might be your boldest so far. What made you to do all these, decisions when it comes to production? Was writing lyrics this time harder than before? How did you choose to cover art? What do you think about your career now that you've been more than 20 years doing the stuff? The kind of a very basic, boring questions, and of course the answers are as boring as that. Now, some people sometimes, not luckily too often, ask me why I don't talk about these topics in my own interviews. Well, I find them utterly boring. There hardly is no more boring question, unless you really go in depth with the topic, than to talk about. So what kind of equipment you were using? Was choosing amplifiers like hard this time? Because whatever guitar, whatever amplifier, whatever pedal or piece of equipment a given artist is using, that's not a really interesting topic unless you're going hardcore with all the hardware, all the software, or the special equipment being used, because it is most likely pretty much the same setup than with the previous ones, unless there was an intentional change, in which case it probably is not much more than just a newsflash. Yeah, this time I decided not to use the same distortion pedal that I used with 4 previous albums. We changed also the producer. How fucking interesting. Besides, on top of that this is the kind of topic that almost all about mainstream metal artists. This is not something so much related to underground. Now, I find this utterly boring to talk about instruments. Like, okay, you changed your strings for your guitar. How fucking fantastic. The other thing that, of course, most magazines and most metal sites feature are news. News about tours. Yes, that's interesting, but not exactly very, doesn't really have a critical sense. Basically, it's fast forwarding the information you got from the PR source. You got a label, okay? This band X is now having a tour. Iron Maiden is going places. How fantastic. That is, of course, like I said, important information. Is it really interesting information? Not especially unless it's going to your home city and you're going to buy the tickets. That's when you need the information. But as a piece of information, like Iron Maiden is going to tour 40 cities. Wow, really great. It's not going to be one of the cities I am going to go. Like, there are plenty of places where the bands are never going. And what you get to read is like, okay, once again, they're not coming to my home country, let alone my home city. Too bad. But this is life. And then you have more, say, news about new album being released. Okay, that's great, but it's 4 months away. What do I do with this piece of information? Then sometimes it's about single being released. It's a teaser. Yeah, for fanatics, big fans. It's a great thing. You get to hear the single now, not when the album comes out. I don't personally care about them, about singles. I want the full album. So, for example, when D-Side decided to drop a new single for Christmas, I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for the album. There's no news for me really. But some people are, of course, they cannot wait, and I get it. So it's important for them. Then they get to discuss the single, and maybe it alleviates the pain in terms of waiting for the album. And of course, there are more news, like band X gets to sign to a label, whatever. But who cares? This doesn't mean anything related to the music. This means nothing to the fans, really. I mean, if a band A, so let's go this Iron Maiden thing here. Nothing against or nothing for Iron Maiden. It's just a band. I'm just gonna use it here as an example. So let's say Iron Maiden search for, dumps the previous label. Let's call it Nuclear Blast. I know they're not signed to Nuclear Blast, but whatever. This is just an example here. They go from Nuclear Blast to sign to Century Media. Maybe this example band should be something else, but whatever. So what's the news really? Like, okay, they changed the label. Very interesting. Now, if for example, I had my own band. I mean, I do, but that's beside the point. Like, if that was, we were changing label, what would be the news? You go to a different label. So fucking what? There is no real information in that. Nothing related. It's not even really important to the band. I mean, of course it's important, what happens behind the scenes, how's the budget for a new album and blah blah, but you really don't see that talk. That would be more interesting. Okay, this time the budget is now not 1,000 euros, it's 10,000 euros, or this time the band is going to Greenland to record that would be newsflash. But when a band changes a label, who gives a damn? And then there are, of course, reviews, which a lot of people nowadays put down. Like, who needs reviews? We get to listen to all these albums on YouTube or Spotify or whatever. Well, yeah, but reviews are kind of like supposed to be a helpful tool for you people to find these albums, these bands you have never ever heard of. Basically, reviewers are supposed to give you some level of criticism along the lines of like, I can totally recommend you this and that album, but skip these ones because they are bad. But these ones are good, and I'm gonna list you a bunch of reasons why to check them out. But in essence, it's pretty much the same as when your friends are giving you a reason. Hey, you should be checking out this new black metal band from New Jersey. They are not that this and that, but they are blah blah blah. Once again, wherever you're coming from, whatever you want things to be political, there might be a reason. These guys are no political, you should check them out. Or these guys are super political, you should check them out. Or these guys eat babies for breakfast, you really should check them out. It's something out of ordinary. Or these guys, they're 110% vegan. You should check them out. It's a vegan black metal band from New Jersey. Check them out. Now the point here is that when you have these kind of reviews, that's at least something, some level of criticism. But now comes the newsflash. Most of the reviewers are not really staff. This is not to put down any given metal publications as such, but this is more to point out reviewers are usually different people than the ones writing news, writing stories and stuff like that. Smaller magazines, especially when we come to fanzine culture. One and the same people, really. Sometimes it's just one or two people, really. What I'm saying here is that not any of these things we're talking about, whether it's about tour news or album news or label news or whatever, and then the reviews, there is nothing really critical. There is nothing, nobody's really challenging, nobody's taking big words. I'll give you a few examples to make my point here. Okay, so I have this site in my bookmarks called metalunion.org. It's not really one news site, but it's kind of a news feed thing. And when you open the site here, like, go to the main page and all, you will see all these geek announcements and metal reviews, blah, blah, blah on the top. And then you have the homepage with all the information here. Okay, you have Blabbermouth. Give a little bit of go what's going on. Creator recording a new album. 2025. Who cares what happens 2025 when we're 2023? Metallica shares pro-shot video, so it's about another video. Okay, basically advertising. Black Flag announces 2024 tour. Well, like I said, that is tour. Interesting for if you live in North America. You don't really get to, filter these things out. Or there is a Lynyrd Skynyrd explaining decision to carry on without any original members. That's at least some kind of news, basically still advertising to the band. Okay, let's take Brave Words. Okay, there is the same thing. Creator planning a new album. Sammy Hagar, Michael Anthony Van Halen. There you have a small interview. Glenn Hughes, interview. Then you have another interview. Okay, take a metal injection. Now there is at least something. 17 actors who are also musicians. However, this seems like one of those tabloid news. Something, like, hey, open this Facebook page because it's so great. It's going to list people who are metal musicians and also vegans. I don't know who would be interested unless you want to be one of those vegans. Once again, nothing against vegans, no pro-vegans. I'm just using these as an example. It could be these 17 musicians also drink beer while they eat pizza. How how highly interesting. Okay, Bruce Dickinson is explaining something. Interview. Igor goes record shopping, buys albums. Why on earth we are interested in it? Okay, let's move down the list. Okay, here is Metallica's James Hetfield has a message and goal for 2024. Must be something like Twitter or Threads level interesting stuff. Another pro-shot video by Louder Sound about Metallica. 7 less known insights about Brand Daler and Mastodon's legacy. Once again, 7 actors who are actually drinking beer and eating a steak. Then there's comparing about Bruce Dickinson versus Paul Di'Anno, who is best Metal singer. This might have actually some criticism and point. So maybe the first something out of just, basic Today interview or, news about tour or whatever. 20 metal bands with no bad albums. This is at least some level of interesting list. But once again, it goes very much hand in hand with reviews. But I would say, yeah, this kind of gets me something going on. Probably a boring list for me, but at least it's something different. Okay, Dream Theater almost didn't make an album. Well, that's exactly not an interesting news. Like, I almost didn't take a shit this morning. By the way, I haven't, but that's the point. Then there are Black Sabbath albums ranked from worst to best. I personally love worst to best ranking, and I find these kind of lists interesting, even if I don't find Black Sabbath particularly interesting, but at least it's something. It's more than just a review, and it's kind of a critical, so there's something like. Then there are more less known facts and blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's go to the smaller sites. Okay, here is some EP release. That's not really interesting. Then you have some top 6 European metal festivals. That's something interesting. I mean, it's a bunch of interesting things in one thing, rather than just announcing some tour someplace where you can never be going. Photos, reviews, more video unveilings, new album announcements, blah, blah, blah. There, down you go. The smaller media you go, you might have something different, but these are still basically the same. Let's take some random one. Here. Okay, the best of heavy metal in 2023, according to Brian Boyle. Or Ukraine's Call of drops debut single music video for... So what I'm saying, it's still very basic. Kiss reached the end of their road. Well, that could be interesting for those who like Kiss. Or then this Lamb of God's Mark Morton reflects on 5 years of sobriety. Very, very much a topic of today. I mean, in terms of interview. Will that be interesting in 10 years or 5 years? I don't know. Okay, enough me browsing and all that stuff. My point here is, if you really listen what I said and if you take a look at some of these things, you will know there is not really much criticism. There is not much reflecting on the topics. Yes, worst to best rankings are something. And sometimes you actually might find a column where some writer is actually pondering about this and that. It might be politics in metal, fascism in metal, vegan eating in metal, or what is important for bands to do and blah, blah, blah. Or actually challenging some of the opinions. Like, I think some of the best and most interesting stuff was happening on YouTube side. I'm not saying this to, vouch for my own channel here, but I'm saying sometimes YouTubers or, well, let's say non-commercial metal medias are doing something more interesting. For example, when this Black Parade stuff happened at the Midgårdsblot 2023 festival, when he was causing a fuss and then thrown out of the festival, and the racist card was played and then apologies were made and all that stuff. That is actually something, because these guys, or well, people, doesn't matter what the gender is, were challenging like whatever Black Parade was doing, both good or bad. And this is something that is not just advertising the artist, like, oh my goodness, you made a new album, it's so great, or you're gonna tour here and blah blah blah. All I'm saying, yes, sometimes it really feels that music journalism is dead. It's like you're not supposed to say evil things because the labels will back off, the bands will back off, people will back off, and it's like, okay, you're one of these grumpy, whatever, angry video game guy, angry metalhead, angry video reviewer, whatever. I don't want to be one of those angry guys, but at least I want to see some kind of ranting, some kind of opinion, some kind of a reflection, criticism, what have you. Like, challenge these people. It's not about brown-nosing, not the artist, not the label. Yeah, if you want to get your bills paid, if you want to keep your advertisers entertained and happy and all that stuff, of course you're going to do a little bit brown-nosing. Everything has to be nice and safe. But is it nice and safe something that you really want to go with metal? I think that's a pretty basic and yet important question here. Now, if you're only for the music, you can say, I don't give a damn about interviews or reviews or even tour announcements. I just listen to music. Then you're probably not even watching this. Then you're not probably reading none of this. Now, if you're a big fan of any given artist, of course you want to hear what this artist has to say. Then you're going to go for interviews, if not anything else. But if you want something else, what would it be? Please let me know. Give your feedback. What kind of content you would like to have here on Rauta or other sources of metal when you want something more related to criticism, more music journalism, not just your, random announcements. Hey, this single by band called Single is out and it's gonna be fancy single. You're gonna enjoy the single. Make a point, challenge the artists, challenge your, peers who are also listening to metal, and let me know what you think. What would you like to have? Tell me. Or do you even keep a damn? Thank you for your time. Take care and see you soon with more stuff coming your way. And by the way, happy 2024.